Now, before we dive into all the important basics that make up Go programs, and before we learn the syntax step by step, let's get ready for writing some code. And for that, we'll need to install Go, and we'll need a development environment that allows us to write Go code. And therefore, we have two main steps that you should execute right now to get started. The first step is to download and install Go. The second step is then to install a code editor so that you can write Go code in a convenient way. Now, there are many available editors, and if you have your favorite editor already, you can of course stick to that. But if you don't have that, my strong recommendation is that you give Visual Studio Code a try. It's a free editor, an amazing editor, super fast and super extensible. And you can write Go code with that editor as well, especially if you installed the Go extension. We're going to do all these things over the next minutes now. Now let's start with installing Go, the language itself. And when I say install Go, I mostly mean that we install the compiler and all the built-in functionalities Go ships with on our system, so that we got all the tooling to compile our Go code and run it. Now for this, you can simply Google for Golang to find golang.org, or you directly enter that address in the browser. And on golang.org, you can download Go. Now, as it says here, Go is available for macOS, Windows, Linux, and more. And I'm on a Mac here, but if you are following along on a Windows machine or a Linux machine, that will also work just fine without any issues. You can click this Download Go button, and you should be taken to that Downloads page where you can now choose your version for your operating system. So for Windows, macOS, or Linux, and you will simply get an installer here if you download that. Now, as I said, I am on a macOS system, so I will go for the macOS download, but choose the one for your operating system. Now, this will download this Go installer onto my system, and once the download finished, we can walk through that installer. And whilst the exact look of that installer, of course, will differ, the general approach is always the same. The installer opens up and you simply walk through all the steps here, enter your password if you should be prompted, and then this will install Go onto your system. On Windows, it will also prompt you for a destination where it should install Go. And my strong recommendation here is to stick to that default location, since that will make things a bit easier and ensure that Go always finds all the different tools it might need to compile and run your code. Now, installation can take a couple of seconds or even minutes, but ultimately it should finish. And once it finished, you are ready to go. No pun intended. Now, if you're facing any problems during installation, you can also check out that installation page that opened as soon as you started your download. And here you find more information about the installation for the different operating systems. Now, next we want to set up a code editor so that we can write some Go code. And for this here, I searched for VS Code to find the Visual Studio Code homepage, and that's important. We need Visual Studio Code, not just Visual Studio, which would be another editor. We want Visual Studio Code. And as I said, that's a free editor which you can install for free for your operating system. It's available for all operating systems. And you can simply download the installer here on code.visualstudio.com and then walk through that installer once you downloaded it. Now, I already did install it, so I will switch right into it. Here I am. I opened a brand new empty window in Visual Studio Code. And in here, you can first of all tweak it such that it looks the way you want it to look. Under Preferences Color Theme, you can, for example, switch the color theme. And I'll stick to the Dark Plus theme here. And then, very important, you should also go to View Extensions or use the shortcut you see here, and then there search for Go. I have a bunch of other extensions installed as well, but here for this course we only need the Go extension. Make sure you install this extension here from the Go team at Google, since this is an extension that will give you great Go support. It will help you write Go code and it will make your life a lot easier. So click install here to install this extension. And once you did that, you are ready to write some Go code, and you can go back to the Explorer with View Explorer or this shortcut which is shown here. I will also tweak the overall look here a little bit and disable this activity bar on the left, and also disable this status bar at the bottom, but that is up to you. And now here I'll open a new folder on my system, a folder which I created in advance and named Go Complete Guide. You can name the folder however you want. And I'll open that folder here into Visual Studio Code so that it's open here on the left, and we can now start adding Go code files to this folder. And here we will now add our first Go file in the next lecture and see how we can write some basic Go code and how we can finish the configuration of our development setup. So we have that Go tool installed. We opened a brand new folder for our first project here in Visual Studio Code, and we installed the Go extension. Now in here we can create a new file, and I'll name this file firstapp.go. The name is up to you though, but that's the name I will go with here. And the .go is important. That is the extension we should use so that the Go extension also knows that this will contain Go code, and so that we can run this code successfully later. Now that's our first Go file. Now once you create that file, normally the Go extension should open up a little helper window, and it asks you whether you want to install the Go PLS command. And I want to do that, and I will actually even choose install all here, because the Go extension actually uses a lot of tools under the hood, and now it will install all these tools for you so that the Go extension is able to work correctly. You will only be prompted for that when you first start working on Go code. So if you open such a Go file and you haven't installed those tools yet. So here I did now choose install all, and I'll wait until all these extra tools were installed successfully. Again, these are tools that will be used under the hood by this Go extension. Once it's done, you should see this little success message here, and you can then close this extra terminal that opened up here. You can then also learn more about the Go extension here with help of that window that opened up, but I'll not do that here, but just close it instead. Now, if you did not get that install pop-up, which I got a couple of seconds ago, you can always go to View Command Palette, or use the shortcut for that, which is Command-Shift-P on macOS or Control-Shift-P on Windows. And here choose Go Install Update Tools. Simply type Go Install and you should get this option here. And if you hit Enter, you can select all tools here and click OK, and then this will re-execute this installation which I just executed thanks to this overlay. So that's another way of installing all those tools. It now did complete super quick for me here, since I did install them a few seconds ago. Now it's a good idea to run this command from time to time, since some of these tools sometimes update, and to ensure that you always got the latest version of them and that everything works correctly, installing these tools again from time to time is not a bad idea. Now with that finally out of the way, let's write our first little bit of Go code to see how that looks like. And I'll dive deeper in the exact syntax and why we are writing which piece of code over the next minutes and hours. Here in this first app.go file, we can start by typing package, and we actually should start by typing package and then main. Now I'll dive into packages and why this has to be named main later. For the moment, let's just type it. And then type func main, opening and closing parentheses, and then opening and closing curly braces. This creates a function, which is a language feature you might know from other programming languages as well. And this main function will be a special function which is executed automatically by Go whenever you run that file. But again, we'll dive deeper into functions and all of that later. For the moment, in this function, we can just type fmt, or just fm actually, to get this auto completion here, and hit tab. And what this does now is it adds this import here, import fmt. With that, we are importing a built-in package built into Go itself, and the fmt package is a package that helps us with formatting and also outputting content. And in the main function, we can now add a dot after this package name and execute print ln with a capital P, and then just print hello world between double quotes like this. And these have to be double quotes. Single quotes are not allowed here. Again, we'll dive into the exact syntax and when we have to use which value or keyword over the next minutes and hours. For the moment, just make sure you type exactly what I have here and make sure you have no typo anywhere. With that, we have our first little bit of Go code. And if we now save that, we can open the terminal, the default system terminal installed on our operating system, just integrated here into Visual Studio Code under Terminal, New Terminal. And this will now be the default system terminal, just automatically navigated into this project folder. And here we can now run the Go command, which should be available since we installed Go on our system. You can just run Go like this to test whether it works. And that's looking good. I'm not getting an error. And you can type Go version to see which version of Go is installed. Of course, you probably have a different version than I have here, but what I teach you will apply to your version as well. But now here we want to execute the Go run command and actually run this first app.go file by typing go run first app.go. And if you now hit enter, you should see hello world here in the terminal. And that's our first bit of Go code being executed. Of course, it's fairly basic, not too impressive, and we don't fully understand yet what's going on here. But we're going to get there throughout the course. For the moment, we just made sure that everything is installed and set up correctly, and we're now ready to proceed.